Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 145, I think. And I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, here with my handsome and pink friend, Mr. Mike, or maybe Lilac? I don't know.
More lilac.
Yeah, sure. Friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, bud?
Pretty lilac, bro. How are you?
Oh, I like that. I'm good. I've got the beginnings of a sore throat coming on, which I actually had a couple of days ago. Melissa made me go to Asda and get some medicine that you squirt up your nose. And I took that, and
Atrovine eye drops.
it completely went away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sweet, I've avoided it. And then I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, no, not again.
You need to go and buy some of that up the nose.
I will,
Excuse me.
I'll see what I can get done. Hopefully I can avoid it.
Here's a quick rant just before you go any further.
Go for it.
Do you not get pissed off with YouTube constantly playing the fucking Strepsils advert to you?
No.
Do you not get it all the time?
No, I have YouTube Premium now.
As soon as you said, I have the beginnings of a sore throat, it triggered me.
Yeah.
Because all I get is the adverts.
Sure. It's funny you say that, actually, because when I went to the shops, that's what I wanted, but I couldn't put the name to the brand. I could see the advert in my mind, but I couldn't put the name to the brand. No, I have YouTube
You just
Premium.
ask me.
YouTube Premium it's overcosted for what it is, but also at the same time, I will never ever cancel. I'll cancel Netflix before I cancel YouTube Premium now.
Because you hate adverts?
Because I hate adverts and I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah, you do.
And just like when me and Melissa are sat in bed with the TV on, it's usually just watching YouTube videos. And I don't I don't notice it now, not having ads, obviously. But Melissa, obviously, the only time she has no ads is when she's using the PlayStation, which is logged into my account. Well, that's it. So anytime she's on her laptop or her phone, she gets ads, and she's constantly saying to me, "You know what? Fucking hate ads on YouTube." So yeah, I'm quite all right with the YouTube thing. Aside from that, what happened to me this week? Oh yeah. I'm witnessing the joys of your musical instrument being your voice. For me, obviously, it isn't. I have a sore throat. Melissa had a sore throat. She lost her voice. So we had to cancel a whole week's worth of gigs. So I just hate it. I hate it. I hate the whole thing. Obviously, fortunately, we're okay. But I just pity or feel bad for anyone that's in a situation where your line of work is just so volatile. That is the difference between being able to afford to live and not being able to afford to live. Like I say, we're okay, but just having to contact other band members and be like, really sorry guys, I need to cancel the gig on Saturday. It's like, there's loads of people put out of work by it. So that's a real shitter.
And it's unavoidable. At the end of the day, you have your fucking body, and your body's going to get ill when it wants to.
Yeah, and it's even more unavoidable now because with the COVID situation, like she did a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and the keyboard player had to pull out the day of the gig because he had COVID. So I sorted a debt for it, no problem. And then came back from the wedding, and then a couple of days later, the drummer was like, "Yeah, I've tested positive for COVID. Probably had it while I was at the wedding." And then the bass player tested positive for COVID. No one else tested positive. But you know what I mean? It's like, so what do we do? Do we just like avoid working? Do we avoid coming into contact with people? Should we not make money so we can hopefully make money next week? Like, it's just,
yes.
Every time you leave, you're just putting yourself at risk. So there's that.
Even going to the shops is risky these days, man.
Yeah.
I also find it's really, people are losing a lot of patience with wearing masks.
Sure.
There's a lot less people wearing masks out in public. I think there's a lot less compassion
They'll go
in that regard.
They'll go this month, I would imagine. They'll go because they've taken them away in England.
I mean, most people aren't wearing them anyway.
Yeah.
Played that gig in Edinburgh the other week, and the only people that were wearing masks were behind the bar.
Yeah. It's just that'll be the way it goes.
I mean, as long as people have tested negative before they got there and stuff, fair enough.
In theory, that should be the case, shouldn't it? In theory, like you should have to have a you have to have a COVID passport to get into gigs, or a negative lateral flow from the 24 hours beforehand. So in theory, it should be impossible for anyone to come in with COVID, but obviously we know that's not the case.
It's definitely not the case because there's lots of asymptomatic carriers and stuff as well.
Yeah, so it's a shitter, but this is the world we live in. On the other hand, big success with weekly guided practice sessions. In fact, so much so, thank you guys for your love and support on that. I've also launched an additional video that I'll be doing for patrons, weekly guided ear training. So weekly guided practice sessions drop on a Tuesday now, and weekly guided ear training drops on a Wednesday. So I have busy fucking weeks. Monday, Guitar Souls. Tuesday, weekly guided practice sessions. And Wednesday, weekly guided ear training. Let's see what I can come up with for Thursdays. weekly group masturbation sessions.
I was going to say Magic the Gathering, but same thing.
I see what you did there. I've not played Magic in forever. All of my effort's been going into board games recently, and painting miniatures for board games.
You were painting your Resi miniatures and stuff, weren't you?
I'm doing all the Dark Souls stuff now.
Oh, yeah. You've got a Dark Souls board game?
There are so many expansions for that game, and I've got not all of them, but a lot of them. And because I'm playing the games as well, I won't paint things that I haven't seen in the game. So I'm seeing these miniatures, I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'll come to that later, and then like I'll beat a boss, and I'm like, oh, I can go and finally paint that miniature now. And
that's cute.
It's a very therapeutic hobby. Hobby's the wrong word. Pastime.
That's a hobby as well.
Something to just sit and do to focus on in the evening. I don't even think that I'll probably get the chance to play the board game with anyone, but I don't mind. Like I'm at one with that now. The therapeutic thing right now is just the sitting and being creative and painting thing. That's fine for me. So
what more could you want?
If I never get to play it won't be the end of the world. So that's a fun little thing to do. So that's
good.
Fun. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else. So other than the obvious, do you want to do it?
Sure. Did you know?
This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now.
So as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification. Those guys are awesome. Go and check them out. Give them some love and support because they give us some love and support. On the note of love and support, actually, via my piano affiliate marketing thing, the Natalie, who's my contact over there, she said, do you want me to hook you up with Toman and Sweetwater for affiliate marketing for those guys? And I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely, no problem. With Toman especially because they do all the Harley Benton stuff. So I thought it'd be really cool to hook up with those guys. And then maybe I could get in one, because I've wanted to do it for ages, get in one of those like £75, no, not even that, the £75 Telecaster,
right?
And do some beginner country videos and say, just highlight that you don't need expensive gear to play anything. And I've obviously got that, my Mexican Telecaster that I do the country stuff on it's a Mexican Telecaster, so you don't need expensive gear to do this stuff. So I do have affiliate accounts with Toman, but they turned down the idea of doing a product feature in one of the videos. Which is like, all right, fair enough. And then I just floated the idea to Sweetwater. They don't carry as cheap a telly line as Toman do.
Do they even ship to the UK, Sweetwater?
Well, that's where this story's going. Yes, they do, but it's a ball. I think what it comes down to is it's product line. So they will ship to the UK if there's not a UK distributor for the gear,
right?
But if there's a UK like Fender, I don't think they'll ship Fender stuff to the UK.
So they're not stepping them just toes.
Yeah, but the cheapest Telecasters they do are the Squire Affinity stuff. So I didn't think that they would really go for it. And to be honest, the product's not really cheap enough for me to say, look how incredibly cheap these guitars are. But they did. They were like, yeah, we'll send you 2 of them. You can give one away.
Excellent.
So in theory, but here's where the story goes. In theory, I've got 2 Squire Affinity Telecasters coming from the good people at Sweetwater. They said I can give one away. I'll give both of them away because I've got no reason to keep hold of a Squire Affinity Telecaster. It's just a nice little bonus for people that enjoy their channel. They sent me the documentation for it, invoice and everything, paid zero for it. They didn't charge me shipping for it. Like, it's literally being sent to me for free. Then FedEx contacted me and was like, right, we need documentation for the value of these instruments for tax reasons. And I'm like, first of all, this is weird. This is the first time I've had a lot of stuff shipped to me from America, and like the Ormsbys and the Rev stuff. At no point has the courier ever got in touch and been like, we need documentation from you. They got in touch and we need a value for this stuff. And I'm like, well, I know you've got the invoice from Sweetwater, but here's my invoice from Sweetwater. The value on them is 0.
The commercial samples.
Yeah, the value on them is 0, and they're like, we can't put 0 in there. That's not an option. So I read through all the terms on their website and the information that you need to give them, and under value it said, this is, and quote, this is the price that you paid for the product. And it's like, well, your website says this is the price that you paid for the product. I paid 0 for the product. Here's the invoice to show that I paid 0 for the product. You've got the invoice from them to show that I paid 0 for the product. As you can see on the invoice, I didn't even pay for the shipping on the product. These literally, I can't stress this enough, this is for FedEx. These 2 guitars have 0 value. They are worthless to me. If they fall into the ocean, I won't lose any sleep over it. They mean absolutely nothing to me. If Sweetwater are playing a joke on me and this box of guitars shows up and I open it up and inside there's 500 toilet rolls, I won't be upset by it, because these guitars have absolutely 0 value to me. But FedEx they're just adamant, well, it has to have some sort of value. Well, it has no value. I called them out. I was like, I see what you're doing here, FedEx. I know exactly what you're doing here. You want to put a number in there so I can get taxed a big amount of money on this, even if it's $100. You want me to get taxed because when that happens, you get to charge me a brokerage fee. So this is a way that you make fucking money. These guitars are worthless. I will not be paying a penny of tax on these guitars, especially as I say, I'm going to give both of these guitars away. I will have to ship those guitars.
They're commercial samples.
So
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they want to claim as value and whatever.
It's going to cost me money to ship these guitars to people who win them. And as we found out with, like, as we know from the Ormsby stuff, and I've sent 2 guitars to the US recently, shipping guitars is fucking expensive. So actually, these guitars are going to cost me a lot of fucking money to give them away to people. I would be happy if these guitars didn't show up, because I will be better off if these guitars don't show up, right? I'm doing something like this out of the fucking goodness of my fucking heart. Don't tell me that they're worth something. They're going to cost me a fucking fortune, and I'm not having them cost me more. I've never experienced anything like it. And they're like, we've got to put something. I'm like, put $1. The value of them is $1. And they're like, we don't think that's accurate.
Well, look at the invoice that I've sent you if you don't think that's accurate.
They said, well, at minimum, it would be production cost. What's the production cost on them? I was like, I didn't fucking make them. I don't fucking know. I'm not Fender. I have no idea what the production costs on these. I'm the consumer. I'm the end consumer. I have no fucking idea. And they're like, we could reach out to Sweetwater and ask them. And I was like, be my fucking guest. But I need to make this incredibly clear to you, FedEx. If these guitars show up at my house and you want me to pay you so much as a penny to receive them, I will not accept this package. And you can take it all the way back to the United States. Because I do not give a fuck. They are absolutely worthless to me. I am not paying you any fucking money. I'm not bluffing. Feel free to call it, because you will just waste your time and energy transporting 2 guitars all the way from America to the UK and then immediately turn the fuck around and take them all the way back. I do not care. That's really enraged me, actually.
That was definitely a rage time.
Yeah.
And no wonder, but like, it's just madness.
Just trying to do a nice thing for people, you know? And it's not even me, it's Sweetwater doing a nice thing. I just want to give away a guitar to someone. I'm like, cool, yeah, you want to give away a guitar? Fantastic.
Just fucking cool.
There'll be people out there that the idea, of course, is like, you don't need an expensive guitar to play country music. You don't need an expensive guitar to play anything. You know, maybe there's someone out there that has always wanted to get their hands on a Telecaster, but they don't have the means to do so. And this would be a great way for you to be able to get your hands on a Telecaster. So, win-win for everybody, you know? And they make people's lives difficult. Not even Sweetwater. Sweetwater are actually absolute sweethearts over it. No pun intended. But FedEx. Sit and swivel, cunts. Sit and swivel. Not giving them a penny. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's going to cost me enough just to ship these fucking guitars. I genuinely... what's more likely to happen with these guitars is I could end up giving away an infinite amount of guitars. And the reason I say this is I'll get these 2 guitars. I will run a competition to give them away after I've made all of these videos. Knowing my luck, the winners for both of them will be in the US. Right? Yeah? So in that scenario, I can either spend £120 each to ship each one to the US, Or I can just contact Sweetwater and say, can you sell me 2 guitars, and you post them directly to the people. But if they do that, I'm still in that position where it's like, well, I've got 2 Squire guitars sat here that I need to give away. So I'll just keep doing that endlessly, over and over and over again, constantly buying more and more guitars from Sweetwater so they can be sent to people in the US until finally someone that lives down the road wins one.
Until everyone in the US owns a Squire Telecaster.
Exactly. That's the spreading love around around the world.
Make it a true household name.
One cheap guitar, one completely valueless guitar at a time.
The bit of paper that says 0 on it.
I know, just not enough. Okay, let's start the show by talking about something that's not actually strictly guitar related. You saw me post it in the in the group.
I did see this as well.
Did you watch it by any chance?
I've not watched the documentary thing on it, no, but I saw like the headline and I saw there was a bit of a kick up because of it.
Yeah, it's really funny. This came up in my YouTube suggested thing the day it was posted, and I don't really know why. But I ended up watching it the day it was posted before it went viral. And boy, is this thing gone viral. So I've got it up on screen for people so they can see it. And it's essentially just talking about people that, play Guitar Hero. It's like a PC mod version of Guitar Hero, and they do it competitively, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see on screen, like, we look at this and like, this is ridiculous.
It looks like these people are having seizures with their hands.
It does. It really does. Fascinating. I'm not even going to go down the route of, because I actually think it's a really lazy route to go, criticizing people that do things like this.
Oh no, this is a legitimate, not only a pastime but a hobby and technically an e-sport.
Yeah,
it'd be the same way as saying people that speedrun games aren't legit.
But you see the same thing come up time and time again with stuff like this, which is, why have you wasted your time learning to do this when you could have just learned to play a real guitar? They're not related. They're not related at all. This is closer to drums than it is guitar. It's purely rhythm based.
Rhythm and coordination.
Yeah. I'm never going to look at any of these people and say, why didn't you just learn to play guitar? Because they're just totally different things. Totally fucking different things. I think anybody that has an interest in something and devotes their time to developing it to as much high level as this, and gets in that mindset of practice, because a lot of this stuff, all of this stuff is practice. When you see the highest level fast stuff on screen here, you can't just get to the point where you can read stuff like that without thinking about it. You practice these things section at a time, slow speed, so you can learn the patterns and train those things in. Time and dedication goes into that. Yeah,
absolutely insane.
So I think I'm not going to criticize them for that. What I am going to criticize is, and obviously I've done this with my fake guitar videos, which obviously no one gave a fuck about. That's not fair. A few people did. It's come out that the most famous Guitar Hero
world champion,
if you like, call him that,
holds a world record for.
Yeah, he's got a ton of records. Has been paid money from people to do things. He faked a bunch of his videos, and this YouTube video covers him being caught out on, I think, one of those, and then subsequently maybe 3 more videos people worked out were faked. He's now taken down almost all of his content because it turns out almost all of it has been faked and edited, which is just baffling to me. It's baffling that people care.
But it's the same as any games that have that any other games that have that kind of cult following of, I want to have a world record for it.
Yeah.
Because YouTube has been really popular with it recently, but talking about Trackmania and a guy called Virtual. No, it's like this really old racing sim game, and the levels are all mental. But Virtual was this chap that's been playing it for years and years and years and really into it, and his YouTube channel's all about it. In the last 2 years, it's went from being this kind of niche underground game to being super popular.
Right.
And a part of that was Virtual and someone else, another guy that was really excited and part of the community, investigating other players and being like, that looks like almost too good a drive. How could you do that? So they reverse engineered some of the software for the game, and they created a script that could read the inputs of exactly how someone had pressed the buttons, and the values they were like, it's impossible for a person to have those values because they don't have anywhere near the same amount of control and velocity that a human would. So they've debunked a lot of people. So it's quite a popular thing, and I think because people get so passionate and invested either in the characters who are holding the records or chasing the records, it's a real it's a betrayal.
Sure.
To find out that somebody's been lying to them in that regard.
Well, the thing I find interesting about this video in particular is it's been up for 2 weeks and it has 2.1 million views. So I think that surely the online Guitar Hero community can't even be that big. You know what I mean?
Probably isn't.
This is spread beyond the walls of that, and it's taken more of a mainstream interest from people. I'm not going to pretend that I don't see the difference between the two. Obviously, I see the difference between the two. This is essentially an esport. It's competitive. Someone is faking being the best. So I can see why the fake guitar thing didn't take off in the mainstream media in the same way that this will. But also at the same time, I think at its core, it's still just a misrepresentation of what one can do, a misrepresentation of what you're capable of doing, and taking all the glory and fame that comes with that misrepresentation. You're adding art into the equation, which is a lovely kind of bulletproof vest where you can say, "Oh yeah, but it's all about the art."
The obfuscator.
I had actually during the week it was quite funny. Actually, where will it be on my Discord server? Let's have a look. Caswell 1S.
Yes.
So
Charlie boy.
Yeah. So there was a guy that reached out to me. For this guy.
I've seen this video. I never watched it.
Yeah.
How to write like Buried Alive.
Yeah, I forget his name. Pete and I got his video, How to Write Like Buried Alive, got posted in my Discord server under the video section, and I get name checked in this a lot. In fact, I get quoted in this a lot, and he uses a lot of clips of me.
Yes.
Because he comes across like a super mega Charles Caswell stan.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, so he's essentially taking issue with everybody that took issue with Charles Caswell. But the further information on this is that Pete and I reached out to me a month before this video went up and wanted to collaborate with me on it, wanted to interview me for it. We chatted via Instagram message extensively.
Do you think maybe it was going to be a hit piece then?
No. Well, potentially. I've posted all of the screenshots in my Discord server.
I mean, even just looking at the bottom of it, I'm a big fan of your channel. Be well, friend.
Yeah. Well, we were, right? So I said the same thing I said over and over again, right? Here in this message. Although people assume I'm against it, I've tried to be really clear. I have nothing but respect for people who write like that. I think Charles writes some unbelievably creative stuff. It's really cool. And I firmly feel that way. Like, I still think Charles's stuff is really cool and interesting. I'm just,
of course, it is.
Posting these screenshots for as receipts.
I thought we'd been very, very clear. Anytime we've spoke about like the fake guitar stuff, it's not the writing process. It's the claiming that you are playing what people are hearing.
Yeah.
It's the misrepresentation of ability.
Yeah.
And if you can play that stuff, which there's videos of Charles Caswell come out in the last wee while where he is playing a lot of his stuff,
sure,
but nowhere near as clean as it is in recordings.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's misrepresented in that regard.
But here's the thing, right? So I've done a bit of a rage time on the episode today, stared down the camera and did the FedEx thing and that, and I'm going to rage on this a little bit.
Please do.
But I said in the original fake guitar video, this isn't what I want to be remembered for. This isn't what I want to be known for. We are going to talk about something later in the show where someone's scamming people online, and the person, I know about this because the person reached out to me and Kaylin to cover it. And I said to them, I was like, dude, I just don't make videos like that anymore. It's just not, like, I might talk about it on the podcast, but at the end of the day, this isn't who I am anymore. And nothing has told me that more, guys, than the weekly guided practice sessions, right? That's been hugely successful. That's what people want from me. And that's what I've always said that I do. That's who I am. I'm an educator. I have no interest in getting sucked into petty little fucking dramas. But
I don't think this is a petty little drama, though, is it?
Well, so I just want to. I said to the guy, I sent him some private messages after the video went up and said, mate, you are a dirty fucking snake. You played the friend. You wanted to interview me. I made my points extremely clear, both in the video that I had done and also via private message with you. You fully understood everything that I was talking about. And yet in the video, you cherry pick sentences from me and then try to make fun of me and say, I just honestly don't understand what Levi's trying to say here. You clearly, you know exactly what I was saying. And the thing that I really took issue with, I quoted him on it. Where is this rant? In there somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So in 8 minutes and 55 seconds of his video, he uses a video snippet of me, and it's literally a sentence, like less than a sentence. It's so removed from context. that clip was taken from 19 minutes and 45 seconds in my video, literally 10 full minutes after I'd stopped even talking about Charles Caswell. After I'd made a passing comment, because that video isn't about Charles Caswell. It's not about fucking Charles Caswell. And I just made... and actually, if you look at the wider context of what I mentioned about Caswell, I fucking defended him in my fake guitar video. I literally explained two things that are really important. One, Mozart didn't play every instrument in the orchestra, and we don't judge him for that.
Absolutely
because
not.
it doesn't matter. It was his creative vision, and it's the same with guys like that compose like that, right?
He also didn't try to put videos of him playing his instruments up on his YouTube.
Sure,
You know?
he should have. That's why Mozart isn't bigger.
Fucked it.
And also, I then go on and say,
He could get a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, no bother.
on my video, I admit, I never hid this fact. On the Hellcat Molly album, there was stuff that I really wanted, the sounds that I wanted, that I couldn't do, and I knew I couldn't do these things. But those were still the sounds that I wanted. Now, I didn't MIDI them in. I just asked somebody that could do those things to do those things. So Cameron Allen's on my album, doing some of his 8-finger tapping stuff behind, like as a textural thing. Lyle plays slide guitar on the start of Leaving London.
That's right.
Wasn't even planned, actually. He did a intro solo for the instrumental version of the tune, and I thought it was so good. I was like, can I use that on the main album? Because that's fantastic. And I take no issue with that. You know, someone else's creative, it was my creative vision, but then someone else's ability comes together to make that thing. I take no issue with people like Charles Caswell. So for this fucking snake in the grass to try and make some sort of hit piece about everybody that took issue with his fucking, hopefully, mate, Senpai fucking noticed you fucking loser.
But like, not even past that, just like, what did you achieve? Really?
Well, and here's the thing I said, right? So in the video, it's convenient. He described
Charles
me as...
will not let you suck his willy.
I know. He described me as Levi Clay, the sniper. And it's like, you damn fucking right. I will take that. You can absolutely call me the sniper, because accuracy is incredibly fucking important to me. I'm very careful, almost always, about the words that I choose. And you know, my Lucas Mann criticisms have turned out to be bulletproof because I didn't make accusations that I couldn't be absolutely sure of. It would be wrong of me in that video to have said, in this video, he's miming to MIDI. Because, and I know some people did say that, it would be wrong of me to say that because I don't know that, and therefore I couldn't possibly say that. The only thing I said in the video is what you are hearing there is not what he is playing.
And it wasn't.
And that's accurate, and because that's how I am. I'm the sniper. Accuracy is fucking important to me. Quoting somebody on a completely different subject and trying to present it's something else that I've said is shitty. Scumbags like this just want internet beef. They just want you to make videos so they can have some back and forward and pull up their channel views. And I've said I don't want to do that anymore. It's just not. I said when I messaged him, I was like, I see what you're doing here, and if this was 4 years ago, it would have worked. It would have worked. Within 30 minutes, I would have had a video up shouting at you. But it's not who I am anymore. I've wanted to take down that fake guitar video for months, if not a year. I've wanted to take down all of my Rage Time videos for a long time now because they're not representative of who I am or what I want people to know me as. If I want to rage, I've got the guitar solos for that. But the reason I've not done it is because people like this. The reason I've not done it is because he criticises Jared Dines. He criticises some of the things that Jared Dines says.
To be fair, Jared went in a bit too hot.
Jared did go in a bit too hot, and I'll give him that, but he doesn't present that. He doesn't give Jared's full thing. His main point with Jared Dines is, and conveniently, Jared Dines removed his video. And it's presented as though somebody removing a video is an admission of guilt or an admission of inaccuracy. That's why my videos have to stay up. I mean, if they came down, people like this would just be like, and he removed his videos because he was lying.
Well, if said lunatic that put the video up that was like essentially filleting Charles was really all that bothered, he would have also criticised Lucas Mann's response to the criticism of him playing, which was about 45 minutes of him making excuses as to why you didn't hear what he actually looked like he was playing. Yeah. There was nothing in there that actually covered anything. It was just him kind of sitting in front of his SM7B being like, well, actually, I wrote it, so therefore that's all that matters.
To be fair, his video was about Buried Alive and Charles Caswell. So
sorry, I'm talking about Lucas Mann.
I
jumped off topic there.
We can make fun of Lucas Mann. I'm all good for that. I just, when I did come at this guy via DM to be like, I see what you've fucking done. Clowns like this, and I guess we might talk about it with the Metal Sucks thing and the way they report on things. There's no accountability in journalism anymore, right?
No, but these people aren't journalists.
Exactly.
That's different.
But they're able to present themselves like they're journalists, reporting on stories, but they have none of that ethical responsibility of asking for comment and publishing people's comment,
But
right?
that's because they don't understand that that's a thing. That is what is to be expected of if you are a journalist.
Exactly.
They're not journalists. That's a guy making a YouTube video that
Yeah.
wants to fillet one person
Yeah.
and filet mignon on the other.
He said when I called him on it, it was like, which quotes are inaccurate? I'm sorry, I used so many quotes in that video in so many different contexts. Like I don't really know what you're referring to.
So
and
if
then
you
when
use many quotes in many contexts, you can't say that they're accurate.
when I pointed that out to him, he's like, dude, you're angry that you feature in less than 10% of my video and I've not given a full representation of everything that you've ever said. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm not angry about you not showing things that I did say. I'm angry about you presenting things that I didn't say as though I did say them. Like that's the opposite of accurate, but fuck these people. So they're not winning on these fronts.
There's nothing to win. Charles, notice me. These people said things about you and I don't like it.
That's exactly what it fucking is.
I noticed. And it was the
Exactly
same
what
when
it
it fucking happened.
Yeah.
Everybody was quick to defend them because they were super fanboys.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah,
actually, as you were saying at the time, listen with your fucking ears,
Yeah.
not your eyes.
Same as with Misha and guys like that. You know, we just see these things over and over again.
It happens. The other thing to consider is, right, the world we live in these days, it is a genuine commodity for you to get other people's attention. So whether you are good or bad speaking about other people and shit, you're going to get attention. I think, and it was something I read just recently, somebody was like, people constantly talk about Kanye West being insane and whatever else and starting all this dissies and blah blah blah. Regardless, his name is constantly being spoken about. His music's constantly being spoken about. His art, his fashion, everything that makes him money is constantly on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
This man has mastered the balance between fame and infamy.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of the time these guys are trying to do the same.
Yeah, but missing the difference between those two things. And I just don't think the world's a better place for it.
Of course not.
I really don't. Like, there are so many people in the comments of my fake guitar video, and I still get them to this day. Especially after his video went up, because he's not a small channel. I think he's got like 35,000 subs, so it's reasonable sized channel. Lots of people in my comment section again, and all they know is what the very narrow view that somebody else has. It's Chinese whispers. It's just this tiny little view. Comments coming in of people saying, yeah, it would sound fake to someone with mediocre ears. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Have you come to my channel and tell me that I've got mediocre ears? Look at the fucking empire that my ears have built for me, right? Telling me I've got fucking mediocre ears. Fuck is wrong with these? And it's just this narrow view that people have of anything. And that's enough for them. And they can just attack people based on this tiny perception that they have of things rather than getting any actual fucking information on things. But don't be ignorant on a subject. I didn't speak about the Caswell thing in any more detail than I had knowledge of. I didn't speak about the Lucas Mann thing in any less detail than I have knowledge of. I work in audio and listening to tracks like this all the fucking time. I've worked in video production and I know the tricks that go into editing video footage.
You are a professional fucking transcriber. You essentially watch and listen to people play guitar so you can write down what they're fucking playing.
I get paid good money to listen to things and write it down. And yeah, I've got mediocre ears. What can I say?
Apparently so.
Let's move on to the other thing. So I was reached out to, as I said, by somebody who wanted me to talk about this, wanted me to do a video about this.
That's really disappointing me because I know the name and I've heard nothing but good things about the person in the genre, I suppose, in the community.
So Sims Cashin, blatantly scamming dozens of people. This has been initially it was posted on Reddit. The person that has reached out to me, I won't name him, just give him some anonymity. He's not listed in these screenshots, and he said one of his friends has also been ripped off by Sims. So it seems to be a lot of people who have either been purchased lessons from Sims, or bought secondhand gear from him, or purchased or paid for like guest solos on albums and things, and he's just taking the money and then ghosting people. And it's been happening for a prolonged period of time. I'm not going to defend the guy. I'm not surprised that stuff like this is happening because, we talk about talked about at the start of the show, Melissa finding herself constantly in this position where she's losing work over and over and over again. And it's not like there's sick pay, If music is your full-time gig and you lose a week's worth of work, how do you recover from that? And with COVID being a thing, it's entirely possible that poor Sims, and I'm going to make fun of him a little bit, poor Sims has found himself in a position where he can't make ends meet, so he needs to turn into a shitbag and start ripping off people online. It's a shitty thing to do. It could be, it could be. I'm not saying it is the case, but it could be any manner of things. It could be like drug issues or gambling problems. Like there's many reasons that people turn to ripping off their fellow man. Every single one of them makes you a screaming pile of dog shit. So, would you like to read some of these?
I don't know if I do, but I'm going to, obviously. So the first one screenshot
wrong
is...
one.
You got it?
There we go.
There we go. Scam alert. Do not do any business with Sims caching. After months of waiting on any response to update my bandmate if the guitar he bought was shipped, as well as taking my money for lessons and would ghost me to set them up, he has ignored and blocked some of us from messaging him or getting in contact with him. We've reached out numerous times to either get what we've paid for or our money back, and has limited his has limited his comments on posts and deletes any comments of him being called out for it. He's also been called out for it before on separate pages and posts for the same thing, and that's not good. He's using an alias of Kelsey Butler. Don't know how many of y'all know who Sims Cashing is, but if you've ever talked to him about selling or flipping gear or buying gear from him, don't buy anything from him. He scammed multiple people in this group, and there's definite evidence. I don't mean to be that guy, but I feel like this is necessary to put out there. I used to take lessons from him, and even sold a guitar through him, and I could only tell he was really a genuine guy and only cared about the money. Oh, not so good. Sorry about the lack of posts lately, but I had to make this one. This is from Guitars with Threatening Auras, just obviously like a daft meme page. If anyone knows Sims Cashing and where to find him, please let me know. He's been going around using fake profiles to scam people for their guitars. Recently stole a yellow Kiesel guitar Zeus from someone I personally know and would like some help. My DMs are open. Please keep your eye out and don't get scammed by him.
This is
really fucking bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I like this one a lot actually. This image a lot, just because it's got like a criminal mugshot type thing, and they've put Swiss Picks at the top, which is Pete's company. Any brand that he is associated with needs fucking heat on them right now. They do. This is how things like this. I don't have the ability to reach out to Sims and have him listen to me. You don't have that ability. Nobody involved in this has that ability, right? But his sponsors do. Yeah. So and that's part of an endorsement deal. If you do something incredibly shitty, it looks bad on Ormsby. Fair?
Aye, totally. Like if I was an asshole, then I would expect that to probably be where the pressure gets put on.
Yeah. If you rip someone off, Perry or Amy could reach out and be like, "Fuck you doing?" Like either
of course
make this right, or we can't have any association with you. Swiss Pick should have no association with this piece of shit.
They might not, to be fair.
This
anymore. That looks like quite an old poster.
That's too zoomed in. I can't see that.
Yeah. Currently trying to get money back from Sims for a spot I paid for about 3 months ago. Somebody else. Scamming alert. Do not buy gear from Sims Cashing. Then his Instagram handles. September 17th, I agreed to buy a Kemper powered amp profiler from Sims via his Instagram gear selling page, and payment was sent by Cash App. First red flag, I know. I was told the Kemper would be shipped Monday, September 21st. As of today, October 7th, I still have not received it.
Get the idea?
Yep. Somebody else. Thanks for putting this out there. Yeah, he tried to get me too. I'm glad Karma's taking its course. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it's, this is...
That's a lot.
And then someone here.
My band paid him $200 for a 30-second solo on one of our songs, and we've waited 45 months. He supposedly got his laptop stolen and works for a video game company, so we gave him slack. But 2 or 3 months after that, we still don't have anything, and he's not returning any text from my bandmate. It's been a sore subject between my bandmate and I. Finally, we decided to release the EP and not wait anymore. But until my bandmate tries to get it back through Venmo, he's out $200. Essentially, my friend paid him $200 for a 6-month delay of releasing an album that's been ready to release. This is really disappointing because I remember hearing the name Sims Cashing kind of in league with a lot of the
good players,
really, really good players.
Yeah.
And the kind of gent and tech scene.
Yeah. It's almost like being the world's best gent guitarist or the world's best tech guitarist won't pay the fucking bills.
Unless you're Misha. He's not the best tech or gent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it's because of the things outside of those abilities that pay his bills.
Yeah, but he needed that platform to start those, didn't he?
Sure. Yeah. One has led on to the other, but
if anybody's got any other information on this, you're welcome to send it through. It's pretty fucking disappointing, isn't it? Like,
yeah, if you use any of these products, any products that Sims uses, register your disgust with said companies. I don't think anything happens from this. I think It's not like Sims is doing all of this and then has this money stockpiled in a bank account somewhere where he can go, oh, okay, I've been caught, I'll give it all back. People like this act like this and do things like this in order to maintain a lifestyle that they have. So the money is coming in and they're immediately spending it on stuff.
Probably.
Worst case scenario, it's Ponzi. He's taking money from you in order to pay back somebody else that he finally needs to, can't put off anymore. It's a shitty thing to do. Fuck this guy. Yeah. Beware of the name, Sims, Cash,
and friends who are friends with or have been friends with Sims. If there's any other side to the story that needs to be reported, you're welcome to reach out to us and tell us what's going on. But it's not looking good for your pal.
No.
Is it?
No, it's not.
Really not.
So, yeah, you posted this one.
I did. I find this really interesting. So, we've got Snoop Dogg, who started on Death Row Records, is now the owner. He's bought over his old record label, which is banging. So this was February the 9th, 2022. Obviously with Suge Knight being in jail. I'm not sure who was at the helm of Death Row, but it's quite cool to see Snoop Dogg be taking it on. Anyway, it appears all those joint branding efforts with Martha Stewart have really paid off. Snoop Dogg announced today he's bought the Death Row record brand from MNRK Music Group, which is managed by investment group Blackstone. Sorry, my reading today is fucking terrible. Stuttery and everything. Death Row was a label that paid Snoop in his early years, and when it was primarily run by Dr. Dre and Suge Knight. I'm thrilled and appreciative of the opportunity to acquire the iconic and culturally significant Death Row Records brand, Snoop said in a statement. It feels good to have ownership of the label I was part of at the beginning of my career and one of the founding members. This is an extremely meaningful moment for me.
Don't think we need to go any further than
No,
that. But
the thing that I like about it is just that Snoop's became, and has been for some time, to be fair, like a total household name.
Yeah.
He killed people. he had a fucking cookbook with Martha Stewart, and he killed people.
This is the Joe Rogan thing and the Neil Young thing all over again.
No,
offenders and is Snoop Dogg's music on Spotify? You don't take issue with being on a platform with people that murder people.
I'm not about cancelling him. I just think it's interesting that people can have so many facets and people can change throughout their lives.
Yeah.
He's still, as far as you can tell, representative of that's the Crips. I'm sure he's an allegiance with, or was at least years ago, and still kind of rides the gangster side because that's where his identity is, I suppose, isn't it? But it's cool to see him be so multifaceted, to have all these other businesses and all these other ventures and opportunities and mindsets, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, never been into his music, obviously, but have all the respect in the world for somebody that goes out there and hustles and is entrepreneurial with their time and money. It would be easy to just, put out records after record after record, but the music industry, and we're going to talk more about the music industry shortly, obviously, is there's just the amount of money in music compared to, say, film is just laughable. It's laughable how much more money there is as an actor compared to being a musician. And obviously, I'm very much of the opinion that's because the end consumer has zero value for music. They don't value music, but they value a film.
I think that's the dissemination of it throughout society. Radio's playing in your car, radio's playing in clubs, radio's playing in the shops when you're walking about. Like, it's such a saturated market, although films are the same, but it's such a saturated market that people don't see the value in it because you're constantly exposed to music.
Sure.
So it becomes an expectation, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's something that you can easily access for free. I'm not just talking piracy thing. Radio is a good example. It's always just been there fundamentally at its core, what feels like for free. Meanwhile, film, on the other hand, I guess you could steal a film, and not talking piracy. You could go into I don't know, a video rental shop. They don't exist anymore, and just stare at the screens that they have in there and watch a whole film. You could, but it's a pain in the ass.
If you've got an Android TV that glitches out like mine does sometimes it tries to show you things on Google Video or Google Film, whatever it's called, and it gimps out and just plays the full film.
Nice.
Yeah, it done that with Ready Player One. It still had the bar up telling you Ready Player One and buy for £4, but it played the full film.
Wow.
Really weird.
I went to the cinema earlier in the week because as a man of a certain age, I had to go see the new Jackass film, obviously.
I've not seen it yet.
Not really worth the time, obviously.
I mean, Kieran said he went to see it and he was like, Bam Margera's in it for a wee bit. and
He's in one thing in the
aye.
background.
it's just Jackass. That's like if you're going to see Jackass, you're going to see Jackass.
It's not really, because all the guys in Jackass are so old now that they can't put their body through what they once put them through. So it's Jackass.
Aaron McGee took a punch in the crotch from
Yeah.
fucking Francis Ngannou.
Sure.
Come on.
The main guys have a few things in it, but primarily most of the debilitating body stunts are from 25-year-olds that now hang around with the crew, sort of thing. But point is, I went because why not? Our local cinema's a £5 to go to see a film, so a tenner for me and Melissa to go and see a film. Imagine the idea of paying a tenner to go and sit in a room with other people to listen to an album. It's a laughable notion, isn't it?
It's a really strange way to think about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But at its core, why not? Why not?
That seems to be the distribution model for films.
Very strange. We never did that with music, and I understand why. Actually, no, I don't understand why. There could have been a time in history, like before the proliferation of radio. Maybe that's what we could do. No, tell a lie. We did do that. That was what we did. That was how things were. You just weren't playing a recording. The people would be there playing the music.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So we do still have that, but I guess.
But then that's like theatre would have been the
Yeah.
equivalent of that.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say. So film is kind of recorded music's version of theatre to film. We pay to go and see a film. We pay to go to the theatre. But why don't we pay to go and sit in a room and listen to people with music? I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should do that. But
No, let's not.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
Absolutely not.
All right, let's talk. Let's continue on. Let's do Spotify. David Draiman.
The world's most boring frontman.
We are Emperor Rhombus over on Metal Sucks seems to write everything there now. Just looking through all the stories, Emperor Rhombus writes everything now.
Right.
And very much as you would expect from Metal Sucks, here's my opinion on David Draiman. So I'm going to present his thing and I'm going to criticize him as much as possible. I'm here for the news, not the opinions, mate. If I want opinions, I'll go and listen to a podcast, which is what we're here to do. So we're going to skip over that and just jump straight to David Draiman's comment. And then we're going to go over to guitar.com, Ultimate Guitar, even. That's the name of that one.
Ultimate
We're going to go over to Ultimate Guitar and check out some input from people's comments, like what people think about this.
Yes, what humans and not fake journalists with fake names are. All those attacking Spotify, young and old, would do well to remember a little couple of things called music piracy and BitTorrent sites. I know they're gone, aren't they? Before streaming took hold, both artists and the very music industry itself was on the verge of collapse. Why? Was it? Because the heads of the major labels at the time refused to see the future when a young Sean Fanning and Sean Parker, the guys behind a little startup called Napster, approached them with a new way to reach their consumers at unprecedented levels, and they shot them down.
That is true. That happened.
Yeah, but it's a bit like blaming Blockbuster for the death of high street video stores because Netflix offered them to buy in and they didn't take it though. Wee bit short-sighted. They're not the only people.
Sure.
So instead, Fanning and Parker let Napster do its thing for free. Piracy and BitTorrent sites soon followed along with the new perception that music should be free. Artists suffered, record labels suffered, and the industry itself nearly collapsed.
I think that we would all agree with most of that. We might argue whether or not the industry nearly collapsed, but I think we agree.
The people
that
making the most money got upset they were no longer making as much money, and they made it out that the bands should do something about it.
No, but I mean, we can come to that, but do we agree with the idea that the BitTorrent site followed and the new perception that music should be free took hold? Do we agree with that?
To a degree, yes. I don't think people had it. Certainly when I was younger, it wasn't I'm not paying for music, fuck that. It was I don't need to pay for music because it's basically being sent to me for fuck all.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It wasn't so much a rebellion against the idea of paying for it. It was just the fact that the commodity was there. It was convenient straight away. There was no thought about pricing models or anyone else being hurt.
Yeah, so if someone was to give you music, here you go. No one was turning around and saying, oh, thanks very much for that. Let me compensate you with some money. Because it was, oh, sweet, thanks for that, because music should be free.
To a degree,
I think it's at its core, we agree with the sentiment. We also agree that artists suffered.
Yes, I would say people didn't think music should be free. I think people just didn't see the consequence of what they probably considered was not theft.
Yeah. And then the final part, which maybe we might disagree. I think we'd probably both agree that record labels suffered. I think the only place where we would disagree is you would say, so what?
No, I don't know, because it has a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
If it was only the record labels that were taking
Sure.
the hit, then I would be like, I don't give a fuck. You've made enough money off everybody else.
Yeah,
You're the middleman. It's your place to take the hit because
I-
you've been taking
yeah.
the fucking profit.
I do agree with that. But I can't argue with the fact that record labels did suffer. Whether or not we argue that's a good thing, it is accurate to say record labels suffered. So David Draiman continues, it took streaming to bring it back to life. Streaming made the labels profitable again. Not really. Made catalogue artists regain a royalty stream and made piracy obsolete.
You're jumping fucking
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
big jumps there.
Streaming made legacy artist catalogues like Neil Young and others tremendously valuable.
No, it didn't.
There's an interesting point around that though, isn't there? Because if the streaming thing hadn't taken, and we're going to talk about someone selling their catalogue shortly, if the streaming thing hadn't taken off, would artists be in a position now where they're selling their catalogues for millions and millions and millions of dollars? Would it be fair to say or to speculate that one of the reasons these big companies or hedge fund groups are willing to invest millions and millions of dollars into owning people's catalogues, could it be that they actually see or speculating that there is a future with a streaming model that is hugely profitable for rights owners? You know, because if I had $300 million to invest in someone's music catalogue, and I knew that 3 years from now, piracy was going to be literally impossible, and the only way to consume music was going to be paying for it, then that $300 million investment would be a considerably more sound investment than investing $300 million into someone's music catalogue when Napster was taken off and there wasn't any, Spotify or Tidal or anything like that. So that could be a potential. That's interesting, actually. I not really thought about that.
I didn't mean to sound completely dismissive of what he was saying, but I think I don't know if I would say that streaming made legacy artist catalogues tremendously valuable. I think it probably sustained their value.
Sure.
Because people aren't listening to them just because, they're on streaming sites. They're listening because they love Neil Young. They love the original music.
That's totally fair.
So
I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, it created the current environment where people stream their music and where musicians had the opportunity to sell their catalogues, which had regained their value, like Neil did. They could always stream their music in the sense that it was on the radios and stuff. Obviously, that was at the control of whoever was the radio DJ and whoever decided to sanction the music. But I don't know if I would also... Can you quantify how much Spotify and streaming sites added or bolstered Neil's value of his catalogue? Because without figures, that's a bold claim.
Ultimately, yeah, when it comes to these things, we can only ever speculate, and I'm willing to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I have my opinions on why the music industry has gone the way it is, but ultimately it's all speculation.
Totally.
We don't get to have these wonderful time machines where we can go back and run it my way and see what comes from that.
Definitely, and I'm not trying to shit on what David's saying because I think he might be coming for a good place here, although I've not read the full thing. I'm just trying to put my own critical logic onto it.
Yeah.
So could or should Spotify have a better streaming royalty rate? I believe so. Well, we can all agree with that. But it doesn't take away the fact that without streaming there would no longer be a music industry, and these artists who are complaining after they already sold their catalogues for gargantuan sums of money would be liquidating their assets.
That's a really interesting statement because he emphasises fact, and I don't think that's a fact. We cannot say that's a fact.
It's not a fact.
We cannot say that as a fact. But the next point about selling catalogues for gargantuan sums of money, I think there's probably an element of truth in that. I do think there's an element of truth in that.
Potentially. But I don't think they would be liquidating their assets because they'd be poor.
Yeah.
I think if they wanted to make the same amount of money that they were offered for the back catalogues, they would probably be liquidating their assets, selling whatever memorabilia, fucking platinum records, instruments, memorabilia of their own. Then fair enough.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'd be pleading poverty if they didn't have the opportunity to sell that back catalogue.
Sure.
They've already made money, depending on how they obviously dealt with their money, would be a big part of that as well.
Yeah.
And many would be struggling to survive. Again, maybe jump the gun. Artists, you want to blame someone? Blame the heads of the labels in the days prior to Napster who refused to adopt a new technology in favour of an antiquated retail system that had a higher profit margin. True. Maybe blame both parties for not coming to a negotiation rather than walking away from it.
He is going to go on and say that.
Blame your lawyers and your management for not negotiating a better royalty percentage in your respective record deals, which is what you say every time, and blame yourselves for not paying attention to it. The majority of the legacy artists out there have a newfound riches from streaming, and music fans have an easier and higher quality access to the widest range of music in existence. In summary, stop bitching, educate yourselves, and read your damn contracts. Streaming saved music. Whether you want to accept it or not, it's the truth. And he put that obviously in full capitals because he's right, and that's why he spelled weather wrong too. David, you've got a point, but it doesn't make it fact or the truth. It means that in your mind, in your thought process, it's the truth, and it's logic.
Lots of people would agree with him, and I would say while there's things that he says that I disagree with, I think by and large I understand where he's coming from, and I agree with a lot of his points. I do agree with a lot of his.
I agree with a lot of his points too, but I would be very, very hesitant to say that streaming saved the music industry because that's nonsense.
I wouldn't go that far.
Streaming made music easier to access for people on demand. Certainly didn't make it better for bands.
But this is why I wanted to go over to the ultimate guitar thing, because I was reading the comments and I found a lot of it quite interesting. Because from my perspective, and we have to acknowledge that when we talk about things like this, we're only ever coming from our perspective.
Oh, of course.
And we can give our anecdotal experience, and we can extend that a little bit by giving anecdotal evidence based on people that we know.
But
ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, we have such a limited pool of anecdotal evidence. It's just not enough. Anecdotal evidence is the worst form of evidence, but it tends to be the most convincing on an individual basis. I do understand that.
I've had the same argument about just me making blanket comments about certain people in the community driving. I always say women in big cars to annoy Nancy, and then she'll be like, "Oh, it's just fucking nonsense." I'm like, "It might be anecdotal evidence," but every time I see it and we drive past somebody that's driving like a nutter, it's a woman in a big car, and she hates me for it. And I totally understand because I actually say it mostly tongue in cheek. However, you're right. Anecdotal evidence is exactly that.
Sometimes it's fun to irritate people.
Sometimes,
at all times.
Sometimes,
The reason I bring that up is because I have to agree with David on most of the stuff that he says there, because my anecdotal experience falls in line with all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I pirated a lot of music when I was younger, and then I got to the point where pirating music was an inconvenience. It was a pain in the arse having to go and find the thing that you wanted and risk getting viruses on your computer. And especially now, piracy, I still consider piracy to be so inconvenient because piracy sites are constantly being pulled down.
Yeah, it's been made even more inconvenient now that internet service providers and stuff are way more on the ball.
Yeah, so I look at stuff like that, and from my perspective, piracy is massively inconvenient in terms of what the time that you have to put in. It's like I said earlier in the show, I have YouTube Premium now because it's an inconvenience for me to not have it. I would rather pay $10 a month and have 0 ads presented to me than to not pay $10 a month and have to deal with all those ads and the subsequent spending that those ads result in. I would like to point out, because I'm a sucker for adverts.
You're quite easy to be sold to if it's something that actually piques your interest.
Yeah,
but that's
and everything should pique your interest with advertising now because it's all targeted.
Well, that's it. The convenience model, the subscription model, I would argue, in line with David, to say that that's been the revolutionary part of the music industry, bringing in more revenue. I wouldn't say necessarily it's the thing that bolstered it up or saved it.
Yeah.
But absolutely, everything's going to subscription models now. PlayStation, don't buy a game, buy a pass for £4.
Yeah. I don't get a PlayStation now, though. It's terrible.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, the whole point is, like, for example, Nancy and I went to play It Takes Two.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling her about it, and she was a wee bit interested. So we watched the video and whatever else. It was half price on the store, so it was £18 or something, right? So I was already like, oh, that's a pretty good deal. Or you get it with the EA pass, which is £3.99.
Yeah.
Like, well, why the fuck would I pay 18 quid?
Yeah, that's where Xbox is kind of laughing with their Game Pass. It's a really good value for money.
Mm-hmm. I've got the Xbox Game Pass as well, so that Finlay and I can play Minecraft.
Sure. But on that anecdotal thing, the reason I bring that up is because, you know, my experience is, I've mentioned all of that about, you know, piracy being inconvenient for me. So when I look at Spotify and streaming services, they are they're massively convenient for me. So in my mind, they will make a massive dent in piracy. And I still believe that based on my experience. I was actually, you'll be massively offended when I say this, but I remember being in the car with you at one point, and you played music on, you were using Google Play Music at the time, and I'm sure I made a comment about being surprised that you pay for a streaming service,
right? Because
that's not what I think of when I think of you
accessing music.
Yeah, spending money when you don't have to.
I'm tight. You know, I'm thrifty. I will give you that one. But no, I don't have a problem with being part of a subscription service or paying for stuff if there's good value for money. And
Yeah.
arguably, there is nothing to be said that you don't get good value for money if you're signing up for one of these sites or one of the streaming services. Like,
Yeah. But
even Netflix. I might not watch a lot of stuff on Netflix, but the access that you have, the catalogue that's there, is undoubtedly more than what you're paying for.
Yeah. The other thing, of course, to take into account is when we're talking about people watching the show on the Monday, or talking to friends that we know in life. By and large, I don't know about you, but most of the people that I deal with are musicians, you know? And therefore they come from a certain perspective where they are more likely to put a lot more value in music, and therefore they are more likely to spend money to stream music. And I often forget that isn't the public at large. So I guess what I'm asking my audience here, and I'm interested to hear, and I'm going to read some of these comments, is: has streaming actually made a dent in piracy? I believe it has. The stats would suggest it has, but let's take a look at some of these comments.
Before you even read them, I'm going to say it probably has had an effect, but nowhere near as much as people think. It's the convenience, not necessarily anything else. I don't think it's a morality thing, because it's become less convenient to download things illegally and more convenient to listen to them on the on-demand sites. Especially when you factor in that Spotify also give free accounts out if you listen to adverts. But
so when you say Spotify give out free accounts, I kept hammering this point to people in the Discord server this week. They're adamant that people would pay $2 to $10 more for Spotify because it's such a good service, and I'm like, motherfuckers, the majority, more than half of people that use Spotify don't pay for Spotify. It's Spotify free. More than half. In the same way that, I mean, we're talking plenty of episodes ago. Remember we had the discussion about the person who took on, was it Daniel Ek? Or the Ashley
guy?
Janner.
Yeah, and then you interviewed her and she says, I don't pay for anything.
Yeah.
Even though she was the first one to be up there and basically saying you don't pay the right royalties and people need to pay more, and then that would like trickle down.
Yeah, well,
Perfect example.
In the interview, I essentially said, you'd be happy to pay more for streaming sites. And she was like, no, I wouldn't. Well,
what are you arguing then?
Yeah, I don't think for a second that people would pay I would pay $2 to $10 more for Spotify. As I said, I would be happy if Spotify put a system in place tomorrow, even if it was voluntary, that I pay my fee plus a penny for everything that I listen to. I would happily sign up for that on a voluntary basis, even if everybody wasn't required to, because I'm happy to give money back to artists. I'm more than happy to do so because I'm in a position where I can do so. But for most people, Spotify can't convince them to spend $10 on access to everything in existence, essentially. Everything in existence. They can't convince them of that. And we're sitting here, convinced that we can get people to pay more money for subscription streams. We all agree that we want artists to make more money from streaming services. I think we all agree with that. And
I hope so.
I think the numbers, some 63, 68, somewhere around that, of all money generated from Spotify goes to rights holders. And you could say, well, that percentage should be higher. Fine. I'll give you that. But still, at its core, even if you push that number up to 80, the amount of money that's being generated by Spotify for artists isn't enough. And the only way to fix that is to charge more for it. And people won't fucking pay it. There's only, if you've got a birthday cake, just one birthday cake, and 1,000 people come over for the birthday, they're only getting a tiny fucking piece of cake. You need a bigger cake. People need to bring their own fucking cakes. Bigger cake. And there's not a bigger cake because people won't put fucking money into it. I say this time and time again. Spotify, I don't think that Spotify is brilliant. I think it represents incredible value for the end consumer. But as a business model, I think it's extremely flawed. It doesn't pay artists enough. All of these things. But at its core, call me a corporate stan, until we fix the problem of people valuing music, everything else is pointless. If you can convince people that music is valuable and they should value it higher and pay more money for it, then it will inherently fix the Spotify problem. Because if people value music and Spotify are only charging $15, but they know that people value music, they'll know that they can charge more and do it. On the other hand, if you just go, Spotify don't pay artists enough, okay, cool, we'll up the percentage that we're paying to artists and we're going to charge more for Spotify. That doesn't fix the problem because you won't have an uptake of people just going, cool, let's just go and pay Spotify more money. We need to fix that problem. The end consumer being willing to pay money. It's literally not Spotify's job to just
conjure money up from nowhere and to give it to bands. They take that money from the consumer, and if the money's not coming for the consumer to give to the artists, it's not fucking good enough. It's the fucking consumers. Just like when people go to gigs and we complain about gig tickets being too high. We did this on the show a couple of weeks ago. The only way that a gig can make money is from the people that are there to see the band paying money out to generate the revenue to pay everybody involved in the venue. The venue doesn't pay for it. The bar staff don't pay for it. The band don't pay for it. You are there and you are going to be milked at every corner to pay for the thing. Because if you don't, the thing doesn't exist. Why don't people understand this? I fucking hate how greedy people are. How they want something for nothing all the time. Music and art is it's what, for me at least, it's what we fucking live for. The world would be a fucking horrible dystopia if we lived in Christian Bale's Equilibrium film.
I would have a great time in that film. No, I'm only kidding. Except the gun kata.
Yeah.
But you make a really good point. There's a quote been sitting in my head for this full conversation that I read online that I loved. And it was, obviously, everything is based in time and space. We decorate time with music and space with art.
That's beautiful.
I know, it's really, really... It was months ago, but it's always stuck in my mind. And it's true. Because you think of music and there'll be timeless classics, and art decorates space because it's the context is usually like what something physically looked like or a place looked like, and the times that it was surrounded in, and how people dressed, and like how well they were, and what was the current fashion, and what was the current thing about like was everybody skinny? Were lots of people overweight because they were actually really well off, and what paints and materials were available to them? Like it's big, but also. Just to add to what you're saying, I think a lot of people fixate on the price and not the value. We know what the price is, we don't know what the value is.
Yeah, I know it doesn't go over all that well when I say things like this because people just inevitably think that I'm vying for I'm a corporate stan and I'm a hardcore capitalist, and I am, but at the same time, it's because I value the person at the bottom. The consumer, the person that enjoys the art. I value that person more than anyone else. And I want that person, I want the consumer. I don't want the company to make as much money as humanly possible. That's not the point.
No.
The point is I want the people that consume the art to enjoy it to the maximum ability, and I want the people that make the art to enjoy it, to be able to do it and to be able to bring more. Weekly guided practice sessions, we'll call it a form of art, has been so successful for 2 weeks that has put me in a position where I can do less transcribing work for people and I can bring an entire new series to people, right? I've been compensated well enough for doing this that it's enabling me to do more art and to give you guys more. I made a video for those guys going, you paid me this, thank you so much. I'm now giving you this on top of it. It's just more value. You didn't have it before and you were happy to pay, but now I'm going to give you even more value because I can do that because you're actually supporting the artist, you're supporting the person that does the thing. It's not about this capitalist mentality and making rich people even fucking richer. It's about enriching people's lives with more fucking art and more things that we enjoy. And the only way that we can do that is if we spend money. And if you begrudgingly spend money because you think that you're going to make some CEO richer, that's an unfortunate byproduct of the system that we live in. At its core, you need to be giving your money for the things that you enjoy because it enables the people that bring you the things to keep bringing you the things. And we're not going to read these comments, but at its core, the reason I wanted to bring up these Ultimate Guitar comments was when I read through this is I was surprised at the sheer amount of people that are commenting on that Spotify and streaming hasn't hit piracy in the slightest.
I bet it hasn't. Maybe in the UK and some of Europe and the US, that will have made some difference, but I mean, I don't know how big Spotify is and how many countries it operates in, to be fair, or other streaming platforms, so maybe I'm being really presumptuous here. But there's always going to be piracy, because there will always be people who like to bootleg, there will always be people who do not want to pay, and there will always be people that don't associate value with it.
Yeah.
Or think that they can bolster their internet credit or kudos on the pirating sites. As what it's like with some of the big groups that rip things. There's always going to be a reason for people to go against even paying the fair amount when the value's there. And it'll always happen because humans are fucking greedy.
Yeah. Again, it comes back to me seeing the good in people and then having my heart broken when I'm reading the comment section like this and seeing people posting links to videos of pirates and saying pirates will sail forever.
and all these getting upvotes. I appreciate Dave's passion on the subject, but he's wrong here. If streaming put a dent in piracy and torrenting at all, it was minimal. And it's just the sheer amount of people that they actually take issue with people that spend their time flagging copyright infringements. Though to them, they're the bad guys. The people that are making it difficult for us to just take freely.
Links to us talking about the Nintendo stuff last week.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting place.
I said on Discord that when I'm the emperor, what I'm going to instill is I'm not going to make Spotify mandatory. I'm not going to, obviously, I'm not going to make paying for streaming music mandatory. That's not what I'm going to do. But if you refuse to pay for music in Levi's empire, I'm going to have you lined up, laying down on the floor, and we're going to pour cement in your ears.
Sound?
Because music has no value to you, so you don't need your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. Enjoy your quiet life.
I really like value for money, so we're not going to pour concrete in anybody's ears. We're just going to poke their ears out with a big stick.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
KK. So this is just a brief one. We're not going to read the statement.
Oh my god!
I thought we were, but we've been talking for so damn long.
I know. That was a really interesting topic though, and I think the chat's probably going to be mental with it.
Hopefully. And the beauty of this stuff, of course, is like I know people just vehemently disagree with me. Joe Lang and Discord server, he's been a friend and student of mine for a long time. Like we're just on complete opposite ends of this discussion, and that's unfortunately never going to change. And Joe rightfully pointed out that like he understands that when I say we need to convince people that music is valuable, he then turns around and says, "I agree with that, but to be honest, in the US." People need to be convinced of a lot more important things right now than the value of music. And it's like, you're totally right. But then at the same time, if we're just going to play the top trumps of like what's important that we're convincing people of, then yeah, it's that. And it's like, well, we can all acknowledge that the value of art and the value of music is never going to come to the top of the pile of things that people need to be convinced of.
Yes.
So should we all just give up the fight then and just say, fuck it, we lose, music's worthless? And just accept it and stop talking about it? No, I'm going to keep fighting and keep telling people that music's valuable.
Which is good. And I think it's definitely healthy if you can have these conversations with people. I mean, I'm sure you appreciate the fact that Joe will come at you and say, actually, no chance. I want to put this point forward. Because see, without that, we're never, ever going to reach the middle ground where everybody goes, well, actually, this could work.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I think people are bad at changing their mind. Having people have their minds changed on things, it only happens a few times in your lifetime, I think. I've had my mind changed on things, and it's nice when it happens. But generally speaking, we're stubborn assholes, and we don't change our minds on things.
I seen a post on, it might have been a tweet or something. It was like here's a couple of tips to help you avoid getting into internet arguments or arguments with people that makes no that you're going to be futile, a total waste of time. And the sentence was, "What evidence could I present you to help change your mind?"
Yeah. And
if there's none as the answer, then you are wasting your time.
I almost entirely agree with that, but then I also see the value in it. Like there are things that we talk about in this podcast where you and I are just on complete opposite ends of the spectrum on it. I think there's huge value to people being able to see that we disagree on things, but we can still talk on things. Like we don't have to split the world into two people. You're either with us or against us. But while you might not be able to change my mind on something, and I might not be able to change your mind on something, by having open conversations in public like this, we put ourselves in this position where I don't expect to change the mind of anyone listening, but we might make someone make up their mind about something based on the things that we talk about. They might not have taken a position on something, and then after they hear a discussion, they go, you know what, I think I agree with you on that.
On top of that,
that's good.
Of course it is. And not just that, like it helps you either debunk things you think are true and aren't, or solidify why you think something is right and like check the evidence behind it and your logic and your reasoning.
Yeah.
It's always good. It's good fun.
So this KK Downing statement talking about what the world doesn't know about his departure from Judas Priest. There's a couple of issues with this. One, he's just recently released an autobiography, and he goes on to complain in this statement that he should have talked more about it in the autobiography and there was stuff that he left out, etc., etc. That wasn't why he wrote the book. I'm sorry, KK. When you write an autobiography, it's to tell your story.
Just in case nobody told you.
At its core, he's still bitter about the fact that he's not in Judas Priest, despite the fact he left Judas Priest. And he rightfully points out that over the years, lots of people have taken time off from Judas Priest, right? Rob Halford left the band for over a decade.
He did, which inspired the film Rockstar.
But he was welcome to come back at some point, and KK has taken issue with the fact that he's not welcome back. They don't want him back. When Glenn, the other guitarist at the time, was his Parkinson's, I think. had issues with his playing and had to step down.
Mhm.
Richie was in the band, but then rather than going to KK, they brought in Andy Sneap.
Yes.
And KK again takes issue with the fact that he wasn't invited back. But the thing that KK just constantly seems to forget is that he didn't just leave the band over their retirement tour. He threw all these toys out of the pram because they wouldn't do the retirement tour the way he wanted it to be done. And that's a very, very different thing from someone like Rob Halford saying, I think I need to leave this band because I want to go and do other things now, guys.
Mhm.
What KK did was to say, you either do this my way or I'm not going to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's an ultimatum.
You can't invite someone like that back into your band because you've demonstrated that you will do that and you will probably do it again. You know who definitely won't do that? Andy Sneap.
No, I definitely won't.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst thing that he done was basically put online, like, I'm quite disappointed they're not asked me back, but fair enough.
Yeah.
And then everybody else done the legwork for him.
Yeah. It's
In a
just,
good way. Like, I respect that. I respect that people were like, what are we saying? What,
Yeah.
Judas Priest with one fucking guitarist? Do you hear that?
KK did a lot of complaining in the statement saying, okay, yeah, I did decide that I was going to leave, but then I changed my mind and I wanted to come back because they essentially wrote a set list that I liked and what I was on board with. So I wanted to come back, but they weren't willing to have me back. And they should have had me back because this is my band and I've been here from the start. It's just old man complaining about the decisions that you've made. Bro, you made your decisions.
Yeah, you were there at the start, from the start.
Yeah.
You're the one you're the reason why you're not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you stick the knife in by having a band, a project that you release called KK's Priest. You're still... I can't understand what he thinks is going to... You think you're going to be invited back into this band with open arms. You took issue with saying, on the retirement tour, everybody has to be performing at 101% or it's not worth doing. So what you're saying there is usually people aren't performing to their best capabilities. Oh yeah, people like that are going to love being on stage with you, aren't they? Knowing that you think that you're better than them. Like it's just never going to work. Move on with your fucking life. You've done fine out of Priest. You've made a lot of fucking money. You're not short. It'll be okay.
Definitely not.
Get over it, loser. Nobody's interested in KK's Priest.
I kind of make it. I do get his point about like if we need to do it right, or there's no point in doing it, because when I've only seen Judas Priest once. To be fair, man, it was underwhelming, and a big part of that was what's his name? The drums,
Scott Travis.
Scott Travis. I was thinking Travis for some reason. Scott Travis. When they came to play Painkiller, he did the intro and stopped and got the crowd to join in, which from in the crowd looked like he was loving it, doing it, and then standing up with the sticks up, like, way, right? So as soon as they went on to him, like, and you could see it with the camera on the screen, he could not have gave less of a fuck. As if, like, here we go, right, okay. Way. And no offence to Rob, trying to wheel a motorbike on stage was just pitiful, man.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to say I can't comment on that. Obviously, I can. I'd be very, very... I'm not going to say you will be this way, but I'd be very, very interested to see how much passion and joy you have in playing Party Can and stuff live in 20 years' time.
As if we're going to be playing in 20 years. Come on.
I like to think you will be.
I would like to think that too, but
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah. But if you are, I would expect that dead look inside when you play this song for the 15,000th
Aye.
and you shouldn't be the case. Like, obviously, you should see your audience. It should be enough to set sparks off in your heart. But yeah, some people it's just not there. It's just not there for them. Super quick comment. I mentioned it earlier, but I really want to get onto this Lance Benedict thing. So
yes,
Sting has sold his catalogue of solo work and hits by the police, estimated $300 million. So he's pretty appreciative of streaming. Kirk Hammett has announced a debut solo EP.
I cannot wait to not listen to it.
Yeah,
It's going to be fucking incredible in silence.
and
It's called Portals.
of course this was written by Emperor Rhombus. We're here for it, dude. Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. Because and in the metal press, there's the cool people that you have everything they do you support, and then there's the bad people.
But even
And
better,
the bad people, you have to say bad things about them. David Draiman posted something bad. David Draiman, idiot. Kirk Hammett, genius.
Kirk Hammett's probably going to bring in way more attention and or advertising revenue and or money for the site than David Draiman is.
At its core, sorry to interrupt, I should say I understand why they take issue with the David Draiman's comments, because David is essentially saying, I'm in a position of privilege. My band does relatively well from streaming, so it's really good for me. And then people are like, yeah, but what about the small artists? And you know, he's totally right. It's not a good place for small artists. Not that it was a good place for small artists before streaming was a thing. When you were a small artist, what did you have to do in order to get your music out there? You had to beg a record label to give you a deal, and they weren't interested because you weren't financially viable.
Yes.
So it's not like it was much better for small artists beforehand. But
point is, if you really take issue with David Draiman's statements because it's not good for small artists, motherfuckers, you run the websites that make small artists big artists. Yeah, you run the websites where you're constantly writing about Kirk Hammett and David Draiman. Don't ban them. Stop writing about shit like this. Go back to being a tiny little blog that just writes about your local metal scene. Because then you're doing good, aren't you? Then you're helping the world. You're trying to make things better for artists. You're not interested in helping small artists. You're interested in making your own ad revenue, which is why you write about Kirk Hammett.
Pricks.
And same for us. We could obviously have a podcast here where we talk about bands that you've never heard of. Yeah, and that would be good for the bands that you've never heard of, but it would be bad for us. So we have to toe that line of working out what's good for us, and what's interesting to people.
We did try it to some degree. I would definitely say that Album Club had that appeal and that opportunity for us to shine the spotlight. Just a shame that it's such a hard format for everyone to get on board with because it takes so much time.
Yeah,
difficult.
Okay, let's do this in 10 minutes.
Yes, bring this up on stage.
Lance Benedict of TTM is back.
No. The Benedict agency is new. It's a digital company.
Yes.
And he quotes Winston Churchill, you know, that great bastion of fairness and human rights, non-scariness. He's a very divisive character, actually, Winston Churchill. It's funny when you mention him online because people get quite upset. Not saying he wasn't a great leader, but he wasn't a great person.
You find that with a lot of people from the past.
Aye.
Judging people from, almost 100 years ago by today's standards, everyone's an asshole.
Oh, aye. But I don't think today's standards would necessarily let slip that he, or even standards back then, that he starved a whole fucking people. You know what I mean?
We absolutely did let those things slide back then. We were okay with things back then because it was a more acceptable way of doing things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm glad we've evolved beyond that. Yes. Obviously,
humans are bad. Right. Anyway,
we're terrible.
So the Benedict Agency. For those of you who remember Lance Benedict, and I'm sure everybody who's listening to the podcast, but for the interest in those who haven't, have an idea of who this is. This is the mastermind, the genius, the business entrepreneur of the century behind TTM guitars, taller than midgets guitars. His branding's on point. His website's obviously super high tech. I mean, look, there's water underneath his logo. Anyway,
music actually plays behind this. I had to mute the website.
Even better. So Lance has had a very interesting couple of years, claiming basically it's him versus the music industry. And
let's reel off the facts on TTM.
Okay, right, yep. How many years were they running it? More than 10 anyway.
Yeah.
How many exist? Maybe 5. How many are in the hands of players? None. How much money did Lance steal? All of it.
Well, we can't say that.
I can, but it's my opinion.
Sure. What we can definitely say is there were a lot of people that paid Lance money for products that they never received. Okay, that's a true statement.
And parts of to join in business with him as well.
Yeah,
for equity shares and partnerships and LLCs, I believe.
Yeah. So there are people that are invested on multiple different levels.
Yes.
You had people that invested from guys like Jason McCulloch, invested to be a distributor of TTM guitars.
Yes.
He never got what he paid for.
And his name wasn't added to the paperwork because it was promises.
No, that's a different guy. We'll do that. We will do that.
Sorry, I thought Jason as well.
This is like there were a bunch of guys that were just paid to be distributors. They paid like 10 grand for the franchise to be distributors in their state. He took the money and never delivered on those things.
Oh,
that's a fact. Mm-hmm. There are people that invested upwards of $100,000 to be part owners of the company. That's a fact. Those people that invested, their names were never added to the company registry. That's a fact. Lance dissolved the companies. Or he's had multiple companies. Dissolved said companies, and when did so, signed that he was the only person with interest in the companies. That was a lie. That's a fact, because the people that had paid to invest weren't listed. They had a say in whether or not those businesses would close. That's a fact. Lance Benedict has offered to send me a guitar for me to review after I made videos criticizing him, and what I really learned was what he wanted wasn't to prove that his stuff was good, but he wanted to make sure that people weren't talking about him being a rip-off merchant. That's a fact. That guitar never materialized, Lance Benedict launched a website calling me an extortionist, Levi Clay the Extortionist.
That's right.
Which we, of course, released the Levi Clay Extortionist t-shirt. Thanks for that, Lance. It was a great idea. I really enjoyed that. This man has been sued multiple times. That's a fact.
Yes.
This man is now bankrupt. That's a fact. Because of the amount of lawsuits that he had thrown at him from lots of different parties, he declared himself bankrupt. I forget whether or not it's a fact or not, but I'm relatively confident that the $100,000 lawsuit wasn't dismissed with his bankruptcy. That one he's still on the hook for.
I'm sure that's right.
Yeah,
I
but
remember that being one of the big
all of the other ones,
victories.
he was admonished of all of his debts to these people because he declared himself bankrupt. And unfortunately, loads and loads and loads of people lost a lot of money to this man. It's not the first time he's done it. He was a used car salesman. Guess what? They have bad reputations too. That's a fact. And he did the TTM thing
Twice.
Yeah, he did the TTM scam twice. And he was manufacturing guitars from, you can see them from 10, 15 years ago that have TTM guitars, USA custom shop on them. Those guitars were not made in the USA. They were Chinese imports.
They came from AliExpress.
But they said USA customs on the guitar. So that's fraudulent. That's a fact. All of these things are facts. Lance Benedict has a very strange relationship with the truth.
Yes,
A very strange relationship with facts. So
this website's rather unexciting. It's uninspiring, isn't it? But then you look down the menu, the crooks. What's this got to do with Benedict Agency, a digital company? Well, let me read. After Bruce and Chris's crooked attorney, Stephen Lamb, and it looks like a link to Stephen Lamb, made a backdoor deal with a crooked judge.
That's a bold statement, mate.
Very.
That is a bold statement, and that is going to wind up with another fucking lawsuit right there.
I hope it fucks him in the ass. I entered this motion to dismiss with the court, and they ignored it and would not enter it into the record. So what you mean there, I would imagine, Lance, is that you filed that motion for dismissal and they have rejected it because it has no grounds.
Yeah, just
not because you don't like that they've said no.
Yeah, you tried to you included my name in a lawsuit. You tried to sue me. You tried to have me as a co-defendant along with Facebook and YouTube and all of these companies for what is it, $100 million or something like that? I forget the number because I laughed at it when I saw it. That was also thrown out. It wasn't entered into the record because it was laughed out. It's not. You can't just say I filed this, therefore.
Yes.
Carry on.
I sent it multiple times by certified mail and they continued to ignore it. No, if you have made one application to have it in and it's been dismissed, they will continue to hold that as being dismissed, no matter how many times you send the same shit to them. The judge, the trustee, the clerk, and the attorney are all crooks and should be in jail. I find it very interesting that he made a link to Stephen Lamb directly, calling him crooked, but then when it came to the judge, the trustee, the clerk, and the attorney, he hasn't named them right necessarily in that sentence.
Yeah.
But he still goes on to do so, which in my mind really opens him up to some litigation. Anyone that reads this and doesn't see the absolute corruption that took place in this is either in on it or stupid. No. Mr. Lamb, Judge Johnson, Trustee Cisneros, and their clerk, Miss Carter, should all be disbarred and incarcerated. Is that in your professional lawful opinion there, aye? This was a payoff to a bunch of crooks that are supposed to make fair and unbiased decisions and rulings. There is nothing fair and just here. Just a bunch of crooks making backdoor deals to hurt honest people. Are you describing
Honest
yourself there,
people,
Lance?
yeah, honest people. You ripped off more people than I have ever seen possible in something like this. The amount of people that paid you thousands of dollars. People like Jason McCulloch just wrote this off. It was like, I just need to accept the fact that I fucked this. You know, I gave him 10 grand. I'm never seeing that again. I've learned a lesson from it and I'm moving on with my life. You know, much fucking credit to guys like that who are able to take that on the chin. I know he's not a rich man, but he's just done it because he knows that trying to get it back from you is impossible. If that was me, I would have hunted you down. I would have hunted you down and skinned you alive. Because
metaphorically,
if someone literally,
just
I'm
before
not making
he starts trying to send you fucking.
I'll be clear. I'm not making a threat there because obviously I wasn't in that scenario. But if someone did that to me, if someone ripped me off a 10 grand, what else would I have to lose? Other than my fucking pride, which I'd already fucking lost. So I'd go out of my way to get that fucking pride back, along with your fucking scalp.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So you'll see this shit will come out sooner or later. Karma will catch up to these pricks and they will all have to answer. It's all the same language as he was using before. He's the victim. Everybody else is a terrible human. Blah, blah, blah.
Hang on.
What?
Where's the rest of it?
What do you mean?
Where's the rant?
The rant's in it?
No.
What, has he changed the page?
I think he might change the page.
Are you talking about the rant where he's saying that Andrew Catania is a felon and blah blah blah?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
no, that's like the first couple of sentences in the document.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about that. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right?
Okay, have you got screenshots, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I took some screenshots.
Oh.
So that's what I thought. We're not going to read the court document.
But sorry, it's funny though, because all he does is talk about Andrew Catania, all that shreds. He claims that it's some sort of gossip harassment site, that Andrew's an ex-felon, and all these other wild nonsense accusations again.
Now, he went off. So there was... He wrote, and it must have been 10,000 words, and it was just this rant. Read that for me while I just check and see if I can find it on my phone.
Oh my god! So this
was part of this long rant that he had on his website. This guy's fucking unstable. It's funny, tragic.
Very, very frightening. One of the stories Bruce loved to tell was the time he had sex with 4 black guys at the same time. Boy, that was a doozy. What has that got to do with your innocence in court, Lance? However, it wasn't until I heard some very disturbing information from a mutual friend that Bruce had been having sex with underage boys. This was the proverbial nail in the coffin for me, and when I called him out on this and other allegations, he went on a rampage. It was at this point Bruce decided to spend a little bit more of his sister's $20 million he embezzled and sue me and shut down TTM. These are really big fucking crazy claims.
So all of this stuff, gone. And I'm telling you, this was the best part of 10,000 words of him going off on a crazy fucking rant.
I hope somebody saved
at
it.
People.
Although Bruce had been banned
his
from
website doesn't even display properly on mobile.
I'm not surprised.
You can't even see the full text. Look at this.
Badly formatted because
Yeah.
it's cheap shite.
Yeah.
Although Bruce had been banned from almost every singe bar in town, his primary focus turned from running around town as a drunker, pathetic little worm with no purpose other than showing off his money he stole from his sister to suing me and destroying TTM in the process.
You, Lance, I should have had that on screen the whole time. You, Lance, screwed yourself. You screwed yourself, mate. You went out of your way to... I'm just seeing if these do link to his... Oh, it's okay. It's information. Yeah. You went out of your way to screw yourself, right? You weren't sued by people to shut down TTM because you voluntarily shut down TTM to avoid people suing you for money that you owed.
It's entirely your name on that signature.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the money you owed to people wasn't owed to them by TTM, the company. It was owed to them by Lance Benedict, the person. So when you realised that, you had to declare yourself bankrupt. Such a shame that all of that stuff is gone because it was hilarious and terrifying at the same time. I might have to contact him, get in touch.
He's a fucking lunatic.
Get in touch with my old friend. Photos. Has he got all these photos? There was a glorious part in this.
What does it say? The Benedict Agency, founded by entrepreneur Lance Benedict, is a full-service multimedia company.
Yeah.
Did you?
There was as part of this huge long rant, he was like, and here's a link to all of my photos so you can download them and do what you want with them and be mad about how successful I am, right? Just look at these photos, right? Fucking sports cars. This is somebody that has completely fucked their life and is now just desperately trying to make something, like make himself relevant or important.
Look at all those non-existent guitars. Those photoshops are incredible. Everybody's so jealous of you.
Yeah. Posting pictures of plane tickets and things. Like, what a fucking ego site this is. Look, posting pictures of himself on planes, right? I don't know if you've watched the Tinder Swindler on Netflix yet, right? Have you seen it yet?
No, not yet. Wait a minute. Hold on, got one. Is that a screenshot of a house? As if that's like, look how much my house is worth.
Yeah, he didn't live here.
And then a car with TTM guitars as the license plate. I thought
this is
did
someone
Lance not claim at one point that he wasn't in charge of TTM as well?
This is someone that's just completely lost the fucking plot.
Yep, and a lot of these are the same photos, and they're obviously not his cars and stuff.
Yeah, completely lost the plot. But here's the thing. So, hang on, just so we're on the same page with all this, Lance. This is you showing off all of the cars that you have and the planes that you've been on and the places you've been and the meals you've eaten and the jewelry that you have.
I know, I wish I was bankrupt.
Sorry, yeah. Just so we're on the same page, you're bankrupt, right? You have nothing now. You have absolutely nothing. You
can't pay your creditors.
You are penniless, yeah? You have absolutely nothing. Yeah. For anyone that wants to laugh at this clown some more, go to his website, send him a wee message, let him know that I'm thinking of him.
I wouldn't even bother going to his website. The guy's a fucking crackpot.
It's amazing because what he has here is he is trying to offer a service to people, a marketing service to people.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you look at the Planet 13 victory, like he's got music up here that he's trying to make out that like this is available and this is something that we're marketing. But then you go to the rest of the site and there's just these pictures of lawsuits and things and fucking meals that he's eaten. The man is fucking unhinged.
See, if you go back to that page with all the photos on it too, it seems to give you a time and date from when the photos were taken underneath it.
I think it's when they're uploaded. Oh no! What
the fuck? Oh, it's got the document names, right? Okay.
Yeah, because nothing says you're not a tragic old fucking loser than taking a picture of a picture. That's a photo of a picture.
Holding a guitar that you didn't build on the website that claims that you're a guitar builder.
Yeah. You'd think with the sheer amount of money that you've made, you maybe could afford a scanner, but apparently not. It's so tragic and so funny.
But you know what? It's just going to...
So many people lost so much money.
And there's going to be more people are going to become the victims of him. He's claiming that he has artist relations and whatever else. People are probably going to sign over their fucking rights.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? So the reason we talk about stuff like this, it'd be easy for people to say we don't care, stop talking about stuff like this. You have to care about stuff like this.
Yes.
The reason I did my Rage Time videos and the reason I talked about the people that I talked about and put heat on people is because the message needs to get out. I made such a noise about TTM when it started happening because I didn't want more people to lose their money. I didn't want more people. I wanted, if little Timmy that lives down the street that's never heard of TTM, well, he can be targeted by Lance on Facebook, on social media.
And he probably was.
And by his advertising and could be suckered into it. You need to reach that person before Lance does. With Sims Cashin that we talked about earlier, we need to get that message out. You people listening to the show, you need to, if people talk about these people, Sims or Lance or TTM or anything like that, anybody that's been outed for being a scammer, never let them forget it. Never let people like this sneak their way back into society, because people like this don't belong in society. I don't believe in cancel culture. I think cancel culture is a bad thing. But making sure that people like this aren't able to proliferate their scams with people, aren't able to take advantage of good people, that's a good thing. I'm not saying contact his internet service provider and make sure that he can't have a website. Just make sure that people know about.
Oh, this is him giving him just enough rope to hang himself anyway. But you're right, you're bang on. At the end of the day, if people aren't aware, then they're not going to be forearmed as forewarned, as they say.
Yeah. And it would be so easy to just say, oh, well, I don't need to tell people about this because Levi Clay tells people about this. But my channel is insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
And we should still be laughing at the fucking state of this cunt.
Yeah.
Come on. Look at him, look at him. An absolute banger.
He's an absolute cunt. Do you know who's not an absolute cunt? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless V's, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So, as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both TTM Guitars.
Fuck off.
No, absolutely. Our friends at TTM Guitars, I love you very dearly, Lance. You have resulted in many, many, many laughs over the years, and you made some money for us with the Levi Clay Extortionist t-shirt. So thanks, man. You're fucking awesome. And actually, I always forget this. Lance paid me to take my video down.
He did.
So I'm one of the few people in the TTM scam who made money off of the scammer.
I mean, essentially, you made money off of the other people who lost their money. If we're going to be,
unfortunately, yeah.
That's not your fault, not by your design. But that was what was the agreement again? Lance paid you money and was going to send you a guitar to review within 6 months.
It was 3 months. He said
3
3
months.
months, and I said, "I'll tell you what. I'm a nice guy, Lance. I'll give you 6." And then 6 months went, and nothing happened. And I was like, "Cool, videos go back up now."
Mm-hmm.
And that was when he called me an extortionist. It's like, that's not extortion.
That's
Like,
that's you made a deal. You didn't uphold the deal.
I'm not saying to you, give me more money and I'll take the video down, right? You could have offered me 100 grand at that point and that video wasn't coming down. The biggest mistake I made that year was taking that video down and allowing you to scam more people because they didn't know about what you're doing. Anyway, big thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification.
You're the best.
I just couldn't help but not say thanks to TTM on that one. It
I
seemed
like it.
if I was really organised, I'd put a TTM ad in there, like sponsor us.
No, I don't even. Although saying that, you could just put the logo on screen and leave everyone else blank.
Yeah.
This is the Run 35 TTM guitars in a beautiful transparent burst.
Yeah.
Look at the non-neck on this one.
It is just fascinating when you think about it. You like looking at this picture of Lance and just thinking, like, what's the difference other than success between someone like him and Perry? You know what I mean?
Morals?
Perry went out and just had a passion, something that he wanted to do, and honed his craft until he could do the thing. And he's gone from a man making guitars to a man that owns a guitar company that's a multi-million-dollar guitar company. Not in Lance's multi-million-dollar guitar company way, trying to claim that I'd cost him 100 grand to $1 million of lost business, hopefully, right? But legitimate multi-million-dollar company. And why? How do you do this? Through hard fucking work and through caring about the thing that you make and caring about your customers. This motherfucker doesn't care about your customers. He just wants access to your wallet. So fuck these guys. Go and support good people. Good people. Perry's primary, interest in business is making great quality product, and with that has come money and success. It's the primary thing is never how can I access your wallet.
So what's the cool things that we can play with today? What's this new product that we've come up with because we've been fucking around?
Yeah.
Nice.
Should we make a guitar out of papier-mâché because it will be cheap to manufacture?
Yes.
And people will pay loads of money for it because it's unique. Like, Mike, until next time.
Fuck FedEx and fuck Lance Benedict.